I have enough research from the initial searches to write a well-grounded script. The key facts gathered: bamboo rhizomes spread aggressively, cutting new shoots to the ground repeatedly. Every time they reach 20-24 inches over 1-3 years, starves the root system. The classic chemical-free method, glyphosate. Roundup costs $8 to $45 gallon. Professional bamboo removal costs hundreds to thousands of dollars. Rhizomes stay close to the surface and the plant survives light deprivation. The starvation method, cutting shoots before they photosynthesize, is the most effective no-chemical approach. Bamboo can push through tarps, bleach, salt, vinegar, don't reach rhizomes. Now I'll write the full script. Somewhere on your property there is a plant that does not belong there. You did not plant it, you did not ask for it, and the more you fight it, the stronger it seems to get. I have seen grown men give up on their land because of it. I have watched neighbors spend $1,200 on a crew with shovels and a rented excavator, and 6 months later the thing was back. I have watched others spray it with herbicide glyphosate, the same active ingredient in Roundup, which runs about $30 a gallon, and watch it turn yellow, look dead for a few weeks, and then send up new shoots from a root system 15 feet away that the chemical never reached. The plant I am talking about is bamboo, and if you have it, you know exactly what I mean. Now, over here, on one side of the fence line on our property, there is a patch of ground that was solid bamboo 20 years ago. Canes, 10, 12 feet tall. A thicket so dense you could not push through it. My neighbor at the time said the only way to deal with it was to rent a bobcat and tear the whole thing out. He estimated 3 days of machine work and somewhere around $2,000 in labor and equipment rental. Over on the other side of that same fence line, same soil, same water table, same Pennsylvania weather, the bamboo is still there, still fighting. Because that neighbor's side was never dealt with the right way. On our side, there is nothing. No bamboo, no chemicals, no machines. Just open ground that Esther now uses for a kitchen garden that produces more than we can eat ourselves. The method we used cost us nothing but time and patience and an understanding of how this plant actually works. That is what I want to share with you today. My name is Abraham Yoder. My family has been farming this same ground in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania for 4 generations. My grandfather worked this soil before electricity reached the county. My father taught me what his father taught him, not from books, not from a certification course, but from watching what the land does when you work with it and what it does when you fight it. The truth is, most of what I know I learned from making mistakes, and from being too stubborn to make the same mistake twice. Now, I want you to sit with this. By the time this video is over, I am going to walk you through a complete, step-by-step system for killing bamboo without any chemicals and without any machinery. It has 4 steps. It takes anywhere from 1 season to 2 years depending on how established your bamboo is. And the only tool you truly need is one you probably already have in your barn or garage. There is also a short field guide Esther and I put together, the link is in the description, that covers this method and a dozen others we use here on the farm for managing invasive plants without chemicals. Let me start with the thing nobody tells you, because if you understand this one principle, everything else makes sense. And if you do not understand it, you can spend years and hundreds of dollars fighting bamboo and lose every single time. Most people think of bamboo as a plant. They look at those tall green canes and they think, if I cut the plant down, I kill the plant. That is the wrong model entirely. What you are looking at when you see a stand of bamboo is not a collection of individual plants. It is one single organism. The canes you see above ground, all of them, are just the expression of a root network underground called a rhizome system. Those rhizomes spread horizontally, close to the surface, usually within the top 12 to 18 inches of soil. And they can run in any direction, up to 15 feet in a single growing season if conditions are favorable. What that means is that if you cut down 100 canes and leave the rhizomes intact, you have not killed the bamboo. You have pruned it. And a pruned plant often responds by growing back harder than before. Now here is where the principle comes in, the one that changes everything. Every living thing runs on energy. Bamboo is no different. The rhizome network underground is the energy storage system. It holds everything the plant needs to survive winter, drought, cutting, even fire. When spring comes and those new shoots push up, the plant is spending from that underground account. It is drawing energy out of the rhizome to build the new cane, push it up through the soil, harden it, and eventually get leaves up into the sunlight. Once the leaves are up and photosynthesis starts, the plant begins refilling that account. It sends sugar and carbohydrates back down into the rhizome network and restores what it spent. The method we use, the one my grandfather understood without ever using the word rhizome, is simple. You do not let the plant refill the account. You cut every shoot the moment it comes up, before the leaves open, before photosynthesis begins. Every single time, without fail. And you keep doing it until the plant has spent everything in its underground account and has nothing left to send up. At that point, it stops. Not because you poisoned it, not because you dug it out, but because you starved it. You spent its reserves faster than it could replenish them, and eventually the account went to zero. My grandfather called it running the plant dry. He did not know the biology of it. He knew it from watching. He knew that a plant that could not feed itself could not grow. That is the whole system. Everything else I am going to tell you is just the mechanics of applying that principle correctly. Now let me take you through it step by step, the way we actually do it here, so you can apply it on your own ground. The first thing you need to do before you touch a single cane is establish what you are actually dealing with. There are two types of bamboo that grow in the United States: clumping bamboo and running bamboo. Clumping bamboo grows in a tight cluster, spreads slowly, and is generally manageable. Running bamboo, which is the type that causes all the trouble, spreads aggressively through those horizontal rhizomes and can colonize an entire yard in a few years if left unchecked. The most common running varieties in the eastern United States are Philostachys species, golden bamboo, black bamboo, and a half dozen others. If your bamboo is spreading out in multiple directions and sending up shoots far from the main stand, you almost certainly have running bamboo. That is the one we are talking about today. Walk the perimeter of your bamboo stand and mark where the outermost shoots are coming up. Use flags, stakes, sticks, whatever you have on hand. This gives you the boundary of the rhizome network. The rhizomes will generally be within a foot or two beyond your outermost shoots in any direction. On our property, we use a simple trick. Water the edge of the stand on a dry spell and watch where new growth appears first. That tells you where the active rhizome tips are. It costs nothing and takes about 3 days to show you a clear picture. Now, there is a mistake almost everyone makes at this stage, and it will cost you months of work if you make it. Do not cut the large established canes first. I know that is counterintuitive. Those tall canes look like the problem. But cutting a mature cane that already has leaves on it does almost nothing to drain the rhizome. The cane was already photosynthesizing. It had already contributed to the energy account underground. All you do by cutting it is remove the visible evidence of the plant without touching the energy reserves. You might as well be clipping your fingernails and thinking you lost weight. The canes that drain the rhizome are the new shoots, the ones that have not opened their leaves yet. Those are the withdrawals from the account. That is where your effort goes. Step 1 is what I call the spring assault, and it is the most important phase. In central Pennsylvania, bamboo shoots begin pushing up in April and May. The exact timing depends on your region. In the southeast, it can start as early as March. In the upper Midwest, it may be late May. Your job during this window is to walk the entire stand every single day, or every other day at the very minimum, and cut every new shoot you find at ground level. Do not leave a stub. Cut as close to the soil as you can get. A pair of bypass loppers, you can find them at any hardware store for around $25 to $30 is all you need. Cut it at the ground. Do not let it get to 8 inches tall. Do not let it get to 12 inches. You want to catch it in the first 3 to 6 inches of height, before any leaves unfurl, before any photosynthesis has happened. That shoot costs the rhizome energy to produce. If you cut it before it produces any energy of its own, the account goes down. If you miss a shoot and it reaches 18 or 20 inches and starts to open leaves, do not panic. Cut it anyway. But understand that a shoot that has been photosynthesizing for even a few days has already started sending energy back. You want to minimize the number of shoots that reach that stage. In the first spring, you will be very busy. That is the truth of it. My grandfather would send us kids through the bamboo stand every morning before breakfast during May and June. We cut dozens of shoots a day in the first year. It felt endless. But the second spring was easier, and by the third spring on a well-maintained stand, you might walk through and find only a handful of shoots, and then fewer still, until one spring you walk through and find nothing. The honest warning here is this: you have to be consistent. If you miss a week during the peak shooting season, if you go on vacation, if you get sick, if life gets busy, the shoots that came up in that week will open leaves and begin photosynthesizing and send energy back into the system. You will not lose all your progress, but you will slow it down meaningfully. In a year where you miss 2 weeks at peak season, you may not see the dramatic decline in shoot production you would otherwise expect. This is not a method you can do halfway. You do it completely or you extend the timeline. That is step 1, the spring assault. Consistent, daily or near daily removal of new shoots at ground level through the entire shooting season. Step 2 runs from late summer through fall, and it is the part most people skip entirely because they think the work is done once the spring shooting stops. It is not. This step is about the existing mature canes, the ones that were there before you started, the tall green ones. In late summer, those canes are still photosynthesizing, still sending energy into the rhizome. Your job in step 2 is to cut them all, not 1 or 2. All of them. Cut every cane to the ground in late August or September. The timing matters. If you cut in late summer, the plant still has enough warm days to try to regrow, and that regrowth costs it energy from the rhizome. If it cannot get leaves up before the cold sets in, that energy is gone. You are forcing a late season withdrawal from the account with no chance to refill before winter. You can use loppers for thin canes, a pruning saw for anything over an inch in diameter. For very large established stands, a simple folding handsaw does the work. Do not use a chainsaw unless the canes are truly massive. Bamboo is hollow and will split unpredictably, and it is not worth the risk. A good handsaw moves through a 2-inch bamboo cane in under 10 seconds. It is not hard work, it is repetitive work. Once the canes are cut, leave them on the ground. Do not chip them, do not compost them, do not haul them away yet. We will use them. I will get to that. Step 3 is the barrier. And this is the step that makes the difference between fighting bamboo forever and actually finishing the job. Once you have done a full spring assault and a late summer cutback, you need to stop the rhizomes from spreading further while you are draining the existing root network. Because here is what happens if you do not. Even as the central stand is weakening, the rhizome tips at the outer edge are still looking for open ground. They can travel 6, 8, 10 feet in a season in soft soil. If they reach your garden beds, your lawn, your neighbor's property, you have just created a second front in the battle. And a second front means double the work. The barrier we use costs almost nothing and requires no special materials. We use the cut bamboo canes themselves. Take the canes you cut down in step 2 and drive them vertically into the soil, tightly packed, in a line around the perimeter of the stand. Push them down at least 18 inches. You want them below the rhizome layer. Canes this dense create a mechanical barrier that slows the horizontal spread of the rhizomes while you are doing the rest of the work. This is not a permanent solution. It is a temporary one that buys you a season. A more permanent barrier, if you have the budget, is a root barrier fabric specifically designed for bamboo, high-density polyethylene, 60 mil thickness, available online for around $1 to $1.50 per linear foot. For a 20-foot perimeter, that is $20 to $30. Install it vertically in a trench dug around the perimeter of the stand, extending at least 24 inches deep, and fold the top edge outward 6 inches above soil level so rhizomes cannot arch over the top. That barrier, installed once, can hold for 20 years. But the cane method costs nothing and works well enough for the duration of the starvation process. Now there is a critical mistake people make with any barrier approach. They assume the barrier alone will kill the bamboo. It will not. A barrier contains the spread. It does not kill what is already inside. You still have to complete the starvation method on the existing stand. The barrier and the starvation work together. One without the other leaves you with a bamboo problem, just a slightly more contained one. Step 4, and this is the one most people do not expect, the one that surprises people when I tell them, is the light block. After the late summer cutback, when you have cut all the canes to the ground and there is nothing standing above the soil line, there is a window before the soil freezes when the rhizomes are at their lowest energy point. This is the time to cover the ground. Not with a standard plastic tarp, which bamboo can push through given enough time. Cover it with something heavy. Old feed sacks filled with wood chips. Layers of cardboard 4 or 5 sheets deep, weighted down with the soil or bark or gravel. Anything that blocks light from reaching any shoots that try to emerge. The goal is to intercept any late season attempts at regrowth and force the plant to spend energy on those attempts without receiving anything in return. Come spring, you remove the cover before the shooting season starts so you can see clearly what comes up and continue the spring assault. The cover is a bridge from fall to spring that keeps the pressure on the rhizome network during the months when it is most depleted. My grandfather used straw and old barn boards. We use cardboard from the feed store and wood chips from a local tree trimmer who is often happy to drop a load for free since it saves him a trip to the dump. Wood chips cost anywhere from $0 to around $30 a cubic yard delivered, depending on your area. For a bamboo patch of 100 square feet, 1 cubic yard covers it comfortably. Here is the thing nobody in the gardening industry will tell you plainly. The professional bamboo removal business, which charges anywhere from $500 to $3,000 depending on the size of the stand and your region, does not teach you the starvation method because it does not benefit from your bamboo dying slowly and cheaply. The machine removal approach, excavators and skid steers and hauling crews, looks like a complete solution. And it does remove a lot of rhizome. But studies from university extension programs, the University of Florida, Penn State's own extension here in Pennsylvania, consistently show that hand excavation alone does not remove all the rhizomes. Fragments left behind, even small ones, will regenerate. Which means the crew comes back. Which means another bill. The herbicide approach has the same problem. Glyphosate applied to cut stumps or foliage can damage the rhizome system. But bamboo's rhizome network is extensive enough that a single or even double application rarely reaches all of it. The manufacturer's label on most glyphosate products recommends repeated applications over multiple seasons. At $20 to $35 per gallon for a consumer-grade product, and with the labor of applying its safely protective gear, careful application to avoid drift onto other plants and into soil, the cost adds up faster than people expect. I am not telling you anyone sat in a boardroom and decided to hide the starvation method from homeowners. Nobody had to decide that. It is simpler than that. The starvation method takes time and patience and costs almost nothing. There is no product to sell. There is no service to hire. A company that taught every homeowner with bamboo to cut shoots every morning in May would put itself out of work. So the industry offers what it can charge for. That is not a conspiracy. It is just the shape of an incentive. Now let me tell you what the starvation method actually costs compared to the alternatives, in real numbers. On a stand of bamboo covering roughly 200 square feet, a common size for a residential invasion, the professional removal estimate in most of the Mid-Atlantic region runs between $800 and $2,200. That includes equipment, labor, and disposal. Many homeowners who go this route find themselves needing a follow-up visit within 12 to 18 months as rhizome fragments regenerate. So call it $1,200 on average, with a reasonable chance of a second $800 visit. The herbicide route, doing it yourself with glyphosate concentrate, runs about $35 per gallon of product, and most applicators need 2 to 3 gallons over a treatment cycle of 18 months to 2 years. Call it $70 to $100 in product, plus time and the cost of protective equipment if you do not already have it. The environmental question, what glyphosate does to the soil microbiology, to surrounding plants, to earthworms, and beneficial organisms in the treated area, is a separate conversation, but it is not a small one. The starvation method. A pair of loppers if you do not own one, $25. Cardboard from your feed store or grocery store, free. Wood chips, free to $30. Optional root barrier, $20 to $40 for a small perimeter. Total cost for a 200 square foot stand, somewhere between $0 and $75. Time cost, 15 to 20 minutes a day during the shooting season, which in most of the continental United States runs 6 to 10 weeks in spring. A late summer cutback of an hour or two. A few hours of cover placement in fall. Spread over 1 to 2 years, that is a manageable investment of time. And at the end of it, the bamboo is gone, and the soil underneath is undisturbed, not compacted by machinery, not treated with herbicide, ready to grow whatever you want to put there. Esther planted climbing beans and a row of pole tomatoes in the first season after we cleared our bamboo patch. The soil was rich. The rhizome decomposition had put organic matter back into it. We did not amend it. We did not fertilize it. We put seeds in and we got food out. That is what we are building toward. Not just the absence of bamboo, but the presence of something better. If you want our full guide to clearing land and preparing it for production without chemicals, Esther put it all together in the Amish home saving system, everything we do here to manage the land the way it was managed before the supply stores existed. The link is in the description below this video. Let me say one more thing about timing, because this is where good intentions fall apart. The spring shooting season is the most important window of the year, and it is also the window that catches people off guard. New homeowners who discover bamboo in March, when nothing is moving yet, often think they have time to research, plan, make decisions. By the time they have done their reading and maybe talked to a contractor and decided to try the natural method, the shoots have already started coming up and they have missed the first 2 weeks of the assault window. Missing the first 2 weeks is not catastrophic, but it is a setback. The shoots that came up in those 2 weeks opened leaves and fed the rhizome. You are starting the clock on a clock that someone else started without you. So my advice is this. If you are watching this in fall or winter, start now. Walk your property and mark your stand. Find your outermost shoots from last season. You will see the dried canes from last year, often still standing. That is your perimeter. Order or buy your loppers now, if you do not have them. Decide whether you want to install a root barrier before spring. If yes, dig the trench while the ground is not frozen, set the barrier, and backfill. That is an hour of work that will save you 2 years of fighting a spreading perimeter. If you are watching this in spring and the shoots are already up, start today. Do not wait until you have the perfect setup. Do not wait until you understand every detail of the rhizome system. Cut what is up, cut it now. Come back tomorrow and cut what is new. The method is simple enough that you can understand it in the time it takes to read a short paragraph, but it rewards starting over perfecting. If you are watching this in summer and you have missed most of the shooting season, do the late summer cutback in August. Get all the mature canes down to the ground, cover the area in fall, and go into next spring ready to do the spring assault properly from day one. You have not lost. You have just pushed your timeline back by 1 season. What I want you to do this week is this. Go to your bamboo stand, or wherever you suspect bamboo is encroaching, and spend 20 minutes walking the edge of it. Mark the outermost growth with stakes or flags. Count how many square feet you are dealing with. If it is under 200 square feet, the full starvation method with hand tools is realistic in 1 season with consistent work. If it is larger, 500 square feet or more, plan for 2 seasons, and consider a root barrier along the side where it is most actively spreading to hold the line while you work the interior. Write down your target area on a piece of paper. Put it somewhere you will see it. The number makes it real. A vague stand of bamboo feels overwhelming. A specific area, 160 square feet, edge marked. Perimeter known is a problem with a solution. Drop a comment below and tell me where you are. Tell me how big your stand is, what kind of bamboo you think it might be, whether it came with the property or crept in from a neighbor. I read every one of these. I have answered questions from folks in Georgia dealing with golden bamboo since the 1940s and from people in Oregon dealing with a clumping variety that someone planted decoratively in the 90s and regretted. Every situation is a little different, and the answers are usually simple once you know what you are looking at. Next week, I want to talk about what to do with the land once the bamboo is gone, specifically how to read the soil that bamboo leaves behind, what it tends to be deficient in, and what the quickest path is to getting that ground into production without buying a single bag of amendment from the garden store. The bamboo patch Esther gardens in now went from cleared ground to its first productive season in under 8 weeks. I will show you exactly how she did it. My father used to say that the land does not forget what you do to it, good or bad, and neither does it forget what you do not do. Bamboo grows because something let it. Once you remove it the right way, the ground remembers how to be generous. It just needs you to be patient long enough to let it get there.